Hello everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to make one of these spawning mops, or breeding mop, whichever, they're both the same thing. Spawning mops are for collecting eggs from egg scattering fish like Medaka. What Medaka do is they lay the eggs on rough surfaces, and there's a sticky substance that covers the eggs, and that substance causes the egg to stick to rough surfaces, and fish are attracted to surfaces like this, stuff like this moss over here, and this makes it easier for you as a breeder to collect their eggs for hatching. So I'll show you how to make one of these. Alright, so I guess we'll do a spawning mop tutorial. How about that? I know there's a ton of those out there, but I guess this is how I do it in particular. So here's a spawning mop that I used to use. It's just the the usual like Scotch-Brite green sponge thingy. Doesn't need to be Scotch-Brite, it can be whatever brand. Like there's this other brand, I think I got this from like the Asian supermarket, and it's just whatever generic brand that they stock. But anything like this works as long as it's like just plain with no chemicals or added scents or anything. And to make it float, use this, it's like a filler for caulking. I have a packet of it here. It's called a backer rod, so it's like this foam rope that you would use to fill in spaces that you're going to caulk, so you don't, use too much caulk. This is kind of takes up the rest of the space in there. But I had a problem with these, and similarly I have the same problem with like the pool rings, in that over time it can take anywhere from just a few months to a year or so. These will become waterlogged because they are porous, and so they'll float at first, but because the pores are open, water will slowly seep in and the whole thing becomes waterlogged, and then it'll sink. And that's what happened. That's when I stopped using the usual method of the pool ring because of that. This kind of bounced back, but when I stopped using it, this pool ring was very like pool noodle ring was very scrunched up and shriveled looking because it was just so waterlogged, and it could no longer float because there was no air pockets in it. Though it looks like as it dried out, it kind of bounced back. Now it's kind of puffier, but it's not as puffy as like a fresh noodle ring. You see how much bigger that it is when it's unused. So one thing I didn't like about the breeding mops is that so many places that sell them use this method of the noodle ring with the sponge, and so after a while I figured maybe I'll use cork, because cork is more watertight and it also floats. And so I got these cork discs, and there are cork discs out there that do already have the hole in it, but they were more expensive, and as in you get, instead of like a pack of like a dozen here that I got for less than $10, you would have to spend $10 for like 4 of them. And I think they were specifically for like holding up like rounded glass jars and stuff like that. So I invested in some cork discs like this. These are, I think they're like stoppers for like bottles and stuff. And I wish I had an example of the completed version, but what I did is I take this apple core, and this is a really cheap apple core. I got like, they're like 2 for $5 or something, and I just bore a hole into the cork. So just try to get as center as possible, and it'll take a moment. And if you have a better means of putting a hole in a cork, by all means use that, like I don't know, like a big fat drill or something. But I don't have such power tools, so I just have the apple core, and so I very carefully, slowly just bore a hole in it, and you can see that there's just like all of this cork particles coming out. as I'm drilling the hole through. And you can see the core is kind of bending over here because it's just a super cheaply made one. But yeah, just essentially just put a hole in it. Speed up the footage here so you don't have to waste some time watching me get this hole in here. And there we go. It's a little warm because of all the friction, but yep, it's not perfect, but there's a hole. That's all we need. And let me get rid of some of this cork dust. Okay. So we got the cork, it's got the hole in it. After that, all you need to do is just roll up the scrubber and cut it into strips. So I use half of one of these squares because I'm cheap and I just want to make the most out of the materials I have. So this one's made out of, I think, one sponge, but I already have a pre-cut one over here that's half of one of these scrubbers. And some people like to cut it in advance and then stick it in the hole, but me, I am going to roll it up and put it in the cork first before I do that. And so you can do it either way too. You can do it lengthwise or you could do it the widthwise. You just tightly roll it and stick it in the cork like that. You don't need to put it all the way through. Some people do, but you know, it's fine the way it is here. It's all gonna get waterlogged and fill in the space anyway. So it's in the cork, it's all rolled up, and from there the only thing left to do is to cut the strips. And the medaka or whatever fish you're breeding that breeds this way, they'll stick their eggs on here, and it's one of the more, it's really I think the ideal spawning mop. It's a rough surface so the eggs stick to it easily. It's also, the color also makes it so the eggs stick out. I've tried some black material and it doesn't quite work. The eggs just don't look very visible. So the dark green really works. And you've seen like yarn spawning mops, even those, like the breeders typically use the dark green yarn because the eggs just for some reason really pop out. And also because I guess they also look more natural in a tank because they kind of look like plants. So I like to make my strips thin. I usually go as thin as possible, so this is about a quarter inch. Quarter inch, I don't know what that would be in centimeters. It's like almost half a centimeter, I'd say. And I just cut it all the way around. Take your time with it. Get a good pair of sharp scissors to do this. You just cut it all the way around. It's a little harder near the end here. But just do what you can. And this little one here, I like to cut that just a bit more as well. It's really hard in there because there's like, oh yeah, there's like a little piece in there. These scissors aren't the best either. And there's your spawning mop, and you know, spread it out so that the fish have more opportunity to lay. There you go. It also looks a bit more natural to me than the pool noodle. Pool noodles come in, you know, these bright colors. This is purple, you got the green one. At the Dollar General right now they have like the red and green ones because it's Christmas time. But yeah, the cork gives it a bit more natural look. You know, nothing about this is natural at all, but I do what you can. At least I do, to make things look as natural as possible when I'm doing stuff like artificial breeding. So one last thing I like to do before I put this in the tank with the fish is I like to give it a good rinse. So rinse it out. And what the rinsing does is it get rid of all the excess dust that was produced from the cork, and also from cutting the sponge into strips, because there's just little loose particles. And you just want to get rid of all of that so the fish don't eat them. Not that it'll hurt them, but you know, it could impact their digestive system if they do ingest that. So, and also helps get the sponge waterlogged as well, so that it's ready to go when you drop it in. So now our breeding mop is all clean, and all I need to do now is just drop it in. Oops. And there it is. And now my champagne Medaka have something to lay their eggs on. They already have this moss here, which the name escapes me. But for an easier time, they'll also lay eggs on here, and those are the ones that I'm going to collect and raise. Yeah, so that's it. If you found this helpful, please give a thumbs up on the video, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you.